No, there are bad times just around the corner. Already, government departments spending taxpayers' money are having to make serious savings. Yet right now, this government, which came to power promising to sort out the vast debt run up by its Labour predecessors, is running an even bigger debt than they did. And whichever party takes power after the next election is going to have to find many more savings. The worst is yet to come. But what will the worst be like? The Institute for Public Policy Research has thought the unthinkable, and Allegra Stratton, our political editor, has seen their conclusions.
You've already seen incisions to public services, to policing, to hospitals, to libraries right now. But these cuts only go as deep into time as 2014. The scissors only keep on snipping for 2 more years. Then they stop abruptly the year after next. Where currently there are detailed plans, right now there's a great big white piece of paper. No cutting, let alone spending. But there will be, and those first cuts will not have been the deepest. Newsnight has been given a simulation of the next round of spending cuts, and on tonight's programme, for the first time, we give you the figures and the implications of those figures. The current spending round lasts until 2014. After that, there will have to be new cuts, fresh cuts, cuts upon cuts. Behind closed doors in the Treasury, they are looking at these figures. They will loom large in your lives, and they will loom large in the next general election. Here's the number cruncher in chief.
What nobody's done before now is say, well, what would the pain look like for different departments or for welfare spending if you make certain assumptions? So what we've done is we've calculated what would happen if you held NHS spending constant, for example, in real terms, or you cut welfare, or you decided to increase taxes.
Excepting health and DFID, we've already seen cuts of 2.3% to all government departments. But in order for the Chancellor to meet his own target of bringing the budget into surplus by the end of 2017, he would have to do more than the 2.3. He would have to do 3.8%. And again, these are new items to be cut, not a continuation of the same. For the first time tonight, the Institute for Public Policy Research for Newsnight tells us what they actually mean. From 2015 to 2017, £8 billion less would be spent on the NHS, and education would see a cut of £4 billion. The eagle-eyed among you will be shouting that we've forgotten the ring-fenced departments. It's not certain, though it is likely, that any Conservative government would retain the ring-fence. Westminster is humming with the idea that the Tories might keep the ring-fence to health, just stuff it to the gills with new responsibilities, like social care. But the IPPR is clear. Keeping the ring fence for the NHS and for the Department for International Development would mean this: 6% cuts to other departments, and if you protected education too, it would be cuts of 8% to other departments. If this is all too abstract, and you forgive crude equations, the effect would be this. Ring-fencing health, international development and education would mean the loss of some 70,000 defence personnel and 20,000 police officers. What a painful headache, and it's why the government is trying to find 10 billion of extra cuts from the welfare budget. Cuts to this budget polled very well with their target voters, and what it would allow the government to do is cut no further than the amount it's cutting right now, 2.3% in budgets that aren't ring-fenced. It wouldn't have to go as deep as the 3.8. Cutting welfare effectively halves the cuts other departments, defence, home and education, must undergo. The Chancellor thinks that the £10 billion of cuts to the welfare budget have an inexorable logic, that the Lib Dems have to accept them because otherwise they're sanctioning deeper cuts elsewhere. But the IPPR think tank think that the £10 billion of cuts is a choice.
You can choose to raise more tax, you can choose to cut certain forms of spending and not others, you can choose to cut welfare. And that's where the public debate needs to be. It needs to be about whether we've got the right kind of mix of options available.
There are Lib Dems wondering out loud if the economy needs the jump leads of more spending, toxically called Plan B. The think tank cautions that more capital spending would also mean more cuts to departments, large ones, of 5.4%. If all of this sounds like too much pain, then in order to meet its target, the government could go for a different kind of pain. Tax rises instead of spending cuts. It could try and bring in 20 billion in tax revenue. A mansion tax, the Lib Dem favoured option, would actually only bring in a tenth of that, 2 billion. In order to get up to that scale, you're looking at putting something like 4p on the basic rate of income tax. After an election, the government could delay the whole thing, choosing to spend an extra £20 billion. More options would become possible. Investment in capital projects, lower than planned cuts to departmental spending to just 0.9% without cutting welfare. They could even temporarily cut taxes. At this, those concerned about the UK's level of debt shake their head.
Well, I absolutely would not delay, because delay costs. It costs you more money, particularly in debt interest payments, and also you get political uncertainty because everybody starts to wonder, are you serious about this or not? So all politicians in all parties, I think, should be focused on doing this as quickly as possible, actually.
All of this sounds incredibly difficult for a government to do 1 year ahead of a general election, and so the suspicion is that they won't do it. They won't do a vast comprehensive spending review, but instead will hand out 1 year spending pots to tide departments over to the other side of an election. And then when they get to the other side, that is, if this government is elected, then maybe they'll choose to delay the whole thing. When you look at these numbers, it is quite an attractive option. Art artist Patrick Blower and the IPPR have tried to help you find some forms and colour in between the lines of what is otherwise an ominously blank piece of paper.